understand. Let me tell you something right now before we even begin. Sometimes silence speaks louder than any words ever could. Sometimes the most powerful message you can send someone is saying absolutely nothing at all. Because when you stop explaining yourself, when you stop chasing, when you stop proving your worth, that's when people finally start to feel the weight of your absence. And today we're talking about something powerful. The longer you stay silent, the more he suffers. Listen, people only truly understand value when they feel the possibility of losing it. As long as you keep talking, explaining, texting, and trying to fix everything, he never experiences life without you. But the moment you step back, the moment you choose silence, the entire dynamic changes. Silence has a powerful way of forcing a person to confront the truth about their own behavior. When you constantly argue, explain yourself, or try to fix things through endless conversations, you unintentionally give the other person a way to avoid truly facing what they've done. Words often turn into noise. People defend themselves, shift blame, or focus on winning the argument instead of understanding the damage they cause. But when you remove those words and choose silence, something different begins to happen. The distractions disappear, and suddenly the person is left alone with their thoughts. They understand it. When a man no longer hears your voice trying to explain your feelings, your silence becomes a mirror reflecting his actions back at him. Every moment that he once ignored begins to replay in his mind. He starts remembering the times you tried to communicate, the times you tried to make things work, and the moments he dismissed your concerns. Silence creates a space where those memories become louder than any argument ever could. Without your voice filling the gaps, his mind begins asking difficult questions he may have avoided before. The human mind naturally searches for answers when something familiar suddenly disappears. When someone who once spoke openly becomes quiet, the change creates discomfort. That discomfort pushes a person to think deeper about the situation. He may start wondering whether his actions pushed you away, whether he crossed a line, or whether he failed to appreciate what he had. The absence of your words forces him to analyze his behavior in a way he might never have during heated conversations. Silence also removes the opportunity for him to immediately defend himself. When people argue, they often focus on protecting their pride rather than accepting responsibility. But when there is no argument to respond to, there is no shield to hide behind. The quiet space allows guilt, regret, and reflection to surface naturally. He begins to see things from a perspective he may have ignored when emotions were high. Over time, this reflection can become heavy. The longer the silence lasts, the more time he has to sit with his thoughts. The mind has a way of replaying situations repeatedly, searching for where things went wrong. In that process, he may begin to realize the impact of his actions and the value of the person he may have taken for granted. Silence does not scream or accuse, yet it has the power to awaken awareness in ways words often fail to achieve. Silence has a unique way of awakening curiosity in someone's mind. When a person is used to hearing from you regularly, your messages, your voices, your attention becomes part of their routine. It becomes something familiar, standard, something predictable. Over time, they may even begin to assume that no matter what happens, you will always be there reaching out, starting conversations, or trying to keep the connection alive. But the moment that pattern suddenly changes, the mind reacts immediately. When the messages stop and the conversations disappear, a quiet question begins to form in his thoughts. Human psychology is deeply influenced by patterns. When a pattern is broken, curiosity naturally follows. If you were always the one checking in, always making the effort, and then one day you stop, the silence becomes noticeable. At first, he might brush it off or assume you are simply busy. But as more time passes, that silence starts to feel unusual. The absence of communication begins to stand out in a way that words never did before. Instead of focusing on other things, his attention slowly shifts toward the change he's experiencing. The mind dislikes uncertainty, and silence creates exactly that. Without clear answers, a person begins to imagine possibilities. He may start asking himself why you haven't reached out. He might wonder if something happened, if you became upset, or if you finally decided to move forward without him. Each unanswered question adds another layer of curiosity. Suddenly, your silence becomes more powerful than constant communication ever was. Curiosity also brings attention. When someone realizes that the energy they once received from you is gone, They begin to notice the space you once filled in their life. The quiet moments that used to include conversations with you now feel different. The routine they were comfortable with has changed, and that change pulls their thoughts back toward you. Even small things can trigger reminders of your presence. And those reminders often lead back to the same question: why did the silence begin? As time passes, curiosity can grow stronger. The longer the silence lasts, the more his mind searches for an explanation. Instead of you trying to get his attention with words, your absence begins to do the work for you. The mind becomes focused on understanding what changed and what it means. In many cases, that curiosity leads him to reflect more deeply on the connection you once shared and the role he may have played in changing it. Silence has a powerful way of restoring the sense of control and dignity that often gets when someone constantly chases answers or attention. When a person repeatedly reaches out, stand it, explains their feelings, and tries to hold everything together, they may slowly give away their emotional power without realizing it. The focus shifts from mutual respect to one person doing all the work to keep the connection alive. Over time, this imbalance can make the other person feel less urgency to care, respond, or appreciate the effort being given. But when that effort suddenly stops and silence takes place, the entire dynamic begins to change. Choosing silence is not about playing games or trying to manipulate someone. It is about stepping back and recognizing your own value. When you stop chasing conversations and stop sending repeated messages and stop trying to prove your importance, you send a quiet but powerful message. That message says you respect yourself enough to protect your energy. Instead of constantly seeking attention or validation, you create space and allow the other person to notice the difference. Power in any relationship often comes from balance. When both people invest time, care, and attention, the connection feels natural and equal. But when only one person is doing the emotional work, the balance disappears. Silence helps restore that balance because it removes the constant effort that was being taken for granted. Without your voice filling every gap, the other person begins to recognize the absence of the attention they once received so easily. This shift can be surprising for someone who has grown used to your presence always being available. When they realize you are no longer chasing them, then their perspective may begin to change. Instead of feeling comfortable and secure in the belief that you will always be there, they may start questioning why things are different. The attention they once received without effort now feels uncertain. That uncertainty often brings awareness to how much energy you were giving before. Silence also demonstrates strength. It shows that your confidence does not depend on constant communication or approval. When someone sees that you are capable of stepping back without anger, drama, or desperation, it creates a different level of respect. People naturally respect those who value themselves and their time. By choosing silence, you are showing that your presence is meaningful and not something to be taken lightly. As this realization grows, the dynamic shifts. Instead of you trying to hold the connection together, the responsibility begins to move toward him. He becomes the one who must decide whether to step forward, reach out, and rebuild what may have been neglected before. Silence creates that opportunity by allowing your self-respect to speak louder than words ever could. Absence has a powerful way of revealing the true value of someone's presence. When you are consistently part of a person's life, talking to them, supporting them, sharing moments with them, your presence can slowly become something they expect rather than something they consciously appreciate. Human nature often takes familiar things for granted, not because they are unimportant, but because they are always there. When something feels permanent, people rarely stop to think about how much it actually matters. But the moment that presence disappears, the reality of the loss begins to surface. When silence replaces the constant communication that once existed, the change creates a noticeable gap in everyday life. The small moments that once included you suddenly feel different. Conversations that used to happen regularly are no longer there. Understand it. The simple habit of seeing your messages or hearing your thoughts disappears. At first, the absence might seem minor, but as time continues, the space you once filled becomes more and more visible. People often recognize the value of something only after it is gone. When you were present, your kindness, attention, and emotional support may have blended into the background of daily life. They were there so often that they felt ordinary. But when those things are no longer available, their importance becomes clearer. He may begin to notice how different certain moments feel without you. Situations where he once turned to you for comfort, advice, or laughter now feel empty. The mind has a way of revisiting memories when something meaningful is missing. During moments of quiet or reflection, he may start remembering the times you showed up for him, the conversations that once made difficult days easier, or the small gestures that brought warmth into his life. You understand it? These memories can begin to carry a new weight because they are no longer part of the present. What once felt routine now feels significant. It cannot be experienced in the same way anymore. As the silence continues, the awareness of that absence grows stronger. Each day without hearing from you reinforces the feeling that something important is missing. This realization can lead him to question how he treated the connection when it was still active. Yeah. He may start wondering whether he truly appreciated your presence or whether he allowed it to fade into the background while focusing on other things. Absence has a quiet but undeniable power. Unlike words or arguments, it does not demand attention, yet it naturally draws attention over time. The longer your presence is missing, the more noticeable the difference becomes. In that space, the value of what once existed begins to reveal itself, often in ways that were not fully understood when you were still there. Silence has a powerful way of revealing the truth about how someone truly feels. When communication is constant and one person is always reaching out, it can become difficult to see the real level of effort or care coming from the other side. The connection may appear active simply because someone keeps it alive through continuous messages, conversations, and attempts to stay close. But when that effort suddenly stops and silence takes its place, the situation becomes much clearer. The absence of constant communication removes the pressure and exposes what the other person is genuinely willing to do. When you stop reaching out, you are no longer guiding the interaction or maintaining the connection by yourself. Instead, you create space for the other person to decide whether they will step forward. If someone truly values you, your silence will not go unnoticed. They will begin to wonder why they haven't heard from you, and that curiosity often leads them to reach out and check on you. It becomes a natural response when someone cares about your presence in their life. Silence removes confusion because it shifts the responsibility of effort. Instead of guessing how someone feels based on occasional words or promises, their actions begin to speak clearly. If he notices your absence and makes an effort to reconnect, it shows that your presence matters to him. It demonstrates that he is willing to take initiative rather than simply responding when you appear. Effort becomes a true measure of interest, not just what someone says in the moment. At the same time, silence can also reveal when someone is not as invested as they once claimed to be. If the communication fades and he makes no effort to reach out, it provides a clear answer that words might have hidden before. Sometimes people express care through conversation, but their actions do not match those words. Silence creates a situation where actions become the only thing that truly matters. This clarity can be difficult, but it is also valuable. Didn't understand it. It allows you to understand the reality of the connection without constantly questioning where you stand. Instead of overanalyzing every message or wondering whether someone truly cares, you can observe how to respond when the responsibility to reach out is placed in their hands. Silence does not force someone to act, but it gives them the opportunity to show who they really are. In that quiet space, intentions become visible and priorities become clear. Without constant communication masking the situation, the truth of the connection naturally reveals itself through the choices the other person decides to make. Silence can often be one of the most powerful ways to protect your inner peace. When emotions run high and conflicts repeat themselves again and again, people sometimes feel the need to constantly explain their feelings, defend their actions, or convince someone to understand their perspective. This endless cycle of talking, arguing, and trying to be heard can slowly drain emotional energy. Over time, it becomes exhausting because the more you try to explain yourself to someone who refuses to listen, the more frustrated and hurt you begin to feel. Choosing silence in many cases is not about giving up on communication, but about protecting your emotional well-being. There are moments in life when continuing to speak only leads to more misunderstanding. Words can become twisted. Arguments can grow louder, and the situation can become more stressful than it needs to be. Silence creates distance from that chaos. Instead of staying in a space where your feelings are constantly dismissed or debated, Stepping back allows you to regain control over your emotions. It gives you the opportunity to breathe, reflect, and reconnect with your own sense of calm. Protecting in your peace means recognizing that not every situation deserves your time and energy. Some people thrive on constant conflict or attention, and when you repeatedly engage in arguments, you unknowingly feed that cycle. Silence breaks that pattern. By refusing to participate in endless debates or emotional battles, you remove yourself from the environment that was causing stress in the first place. This decision is not weakness. It is a quiet form of strength that prioritizes your mental and emotional health. Didn't understand it. Silence also gives you the space to focus on yourself instead of constantly focusing on someone else's behavior. When you are no longer caught up in trying to fix every problem or respond to every message, your mind becomes clearer. You begin to invest that energy back into your own growth, your own goals, and the parts of your life that bring you genuine happiness. In this way, silence becomes a tool that helps restore balance within yourself. At the same time, silence creates boundaries. It shows that your energy is valuable and that you will not continue giving it to situations that disturb your peace. People begin to understand that access to your time and emotions is not automatic. Respect grows when others realize that you are willing to step back rather than tolerate constant negativity. In the quiet space that silence creates, you rediscover a sense of control over your life and your emotions. Instead of being pulled into every disagreement or misunderstanding, you choose calm over chaos and clarity over constant conflict. So if you're constantly explaining your worth to someone who refuses to see it, maybe the answer isn't louder words. Maybe the answer is quiet confidence. Didn't understand it because when you stop talking and start walking away, that's when people realize what they're about to lose. And remember this, the moment you stop chasing someone who took you for granted, you create space for someone who will never make you feel that way again. Sometimes the most powerful move you can make it is simply saying nothing at all.